Hello again. So this is my fourth try at this video a week later. My first one pretty much was a train wreck. My second one, I think the computer crashed. The third one, which was the other day, my video was bad. So anyway, this is number four. So I should do a blooper reel. It's going to be pretty fun. Anyway, my granddaughter has requested me to make her a coaster, just like the one you see on the screen here. And normally I would make something like this on my CNC machine or something like that. But I decided I'm going to start doing as much as I can on my laser machine. For me, it's a little bit faster, a little bit easier, and honestly, you could do a lot more neat things faster, I think. And I'm going to show you one of my ways how I would do this. Multicolored, it's going to be multi-layers. It's all going to be one coaster. As you can see, this one was one of my first samples that I did, or tried anyway. And it wound up not being perfectly round. There are some errors with the flour and the painting, and then I moved it up top here. But anyway, this was a trial and error on my first video. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this on a laser machine, and I hope it's going to open up some really neat ideas for you that you can use this machine for. There's so many possibilities. So let's get started. This is the picture that we are going to use. We're going to make the coaster from. So I'm going to move it out of the way, and I'm going to start here. And as if you guys, well, let me just tell you this first. So I started practicing with cutting out some of these pieces of board. Now this one's really thin. I have another one here. It's a little bit thicker. Some of them, well, as you can see here, I burned it. And then this one I burnt through doing some tests. This one, as you can see, I didn't even burn all the way through. I thought it was all the way through. But once you pick it up and you move it, then of course you lost your spot. So I decided to create a jig template, whatever you want to call it. And I created this. Let me show you on my screen first. I decided to create this, would be something that I would put on my machine, and the sides here will just go butt up right against my, not my rails, but my bottom frame, my set spot, and my home spot. And then I could pick up the coaster and put it back the exact same spot every time, and I would never have to worry about losing my position. It will fit right in, as you can see on the screen here. It's going to butt right up against this wall and the bottom wall, and you see that around here is going to be my zero spot. And then you'll see I have different air chambers so that it can breathe underneath. And I found that when I burned, as you can see these here, when I burned this on top of this, I seem to find that where it wasn't sitting on the wood, it seemed to burn a lot better. And so I decided to create something like this on the screen here, and here it is here, cut out with my CNC machine. As you can see, I did a couple test cuts, and I really liked how it came out. It raised it up. As you can see, my coaster just fits right in there. So at any time, this is stationary on my machine. Wherever you want to put it, doesn't matter, up to you. But you could take the coaster and put it back, and you never have to worry about losing your spot. So, and in this situation, I'm going to be removing the coaster quite a few times, as you'll see. So anyway, I made this. This is I used, if you care, I used a 1/4" end mill, and the bottom surface here. You look on the screen as well. The bottom part is a 1/2 inch low, and these here are a 1/4 inch high. So, and it actually sits down a 1/4 inch. But anyway, I created this, pump it out, and then I'm just going to put, that on my board. So we'll get to that in a minute. So let me minimize that. And I don't know if I'll just real quick before I leave my inlay here, you'll see I got a 1/2 inch down, and basically just cut all this out. This is my 2D view, really pretty straightforward. And then the last part, all I did was, these were all the way up here, and then this one here just simply went around and just lowered all of this down to, lowered it down another 1/4 inch, as you can see here. It's pretty much it, pretty straightforward. Use a 1/4 inch end mill. So all right, let's go with this one here. So let's get started with burning. Or I'm sorry, the thing here is, if you know a lot of my stuff that I've done, whenever I'm going to make something, so I'm going to make a coaster out of this here. Obviously, we're going to do this here. And what I've done first is I went and I painted the coaster with a gloss Rust-Oleum paint. Just painted it over the whole thing. That's it. It dried. So that's going to be my backing. I'm actually going to try some new things here, some new ways to do things, and you'll be the first to watch it with me and see if it works or doesn't work and how messed up it gets. So anyway, this is what I use, and as you know, if you've seen some of my videos before, I always start with the measurement of what I'm cutting, if it's a square, it's a circle, whatever, and I create that on my screen, and then I work within that. And so let's do that right now. So we're going to take this coaster. It's a 4-inch coaster, but it's actually 3 7/8. And my first time that I tried it, it did make the difference. So we are going to make a square 3 7/8, and that's going to be my work area. So we'll go into Lightburn, and I'm just going to create a square. I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to use my chart here. So we know 3 inches and 7/8 is 0.875. So we are going to make this box, we're going to unlock it and do 3.875 by 3.875. And now I'm going to lock it. And I'm going to click my arrow, and then I'm going to go up to Arrange, move selected objects to the lower left, and it's going to be down here. So then click your square frame here, zoom to frame selection. So now this is my work area. This is where I will be doing all of my work, and as long as I stay within inside these lines, I know that I'm going to stay within inside the coaster. And I do that with all my projects, and it eliminates all my centering problems, where it's going to be, everything. It's great. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go into the layer, and I'm going to name it Frame. And in this case, I'm going to do 100 speed and 1 power, and I'll explain all that to you in a little bit. So now that we have our exact area where we are going to work in, I am going to bring in some of the pictures. So let's drag and drop this one in here. Whenever I drop a SVG, you'll notice it created all these layers for me. Lightburn likes to save the layer names and information on it, and I'm not real fond of that, but anyway, so this is what it did, and this is what I dropped in here. So I'm going to take this and make sure it's, you know, all grouped together, which I'm pretty sure that it is already. And then I'm going to resize it. I'm going to leave the lock on for right now, but I'm going to resize it to, what was I, 3.85? I'm going to go 3.8. I'm sorry, 3.875. I'm going to go 3.85. Nope, that didn't work right. So let me undo that, because what I did was I selected everything and the square, and I don't want to do that. So let me select it again and change it to 3.85. So then I'm going to select it, then select the square second, my frame rather, and then go up to Arrange, Align Centers. And this will take the first item and center it into the second thing that I selected. So one thing I noticed is it is not perfectly round. And I realized that after I cut my first one, as you can see, you probably can't tell, but it is not round. So my granddaughter was not having that. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock it, and I'm going to change, it's already 3.875, I'm going to change it to, what is it, 3.875, I'm sorry, 3.85, where am I at, 85. And then so, where am I at here, click it, and then I'm going to lock it. I'm going to select the second box, do the exact same thing again, Arrange, Align Centers. And now I'm going to click this, and you can see I am perfectly within that circle there, or perfectly within the square. So that's going to be my square coaster, and I am going to cut this out at the end, and I'm going to cut right on that edge. I actually think I'm going to come in just a tad. I'm actually going to lower that to 0, and it should be there. And I'm going to Control Z to undo, click this center here, and then change it to 0. That's my bird in the background. And you'll notice then it stayed centered. Hold on, I'm going to close my door. I have to have fried bird tomorrow. So hopefully you followed everything I did. Basically what I did was I centered this inside of my working frame, and I'm looking at my edges, making sure I have enough space here, just checking everything over. And then these are the layers that it created when I drug it in here. So I'm going to pause this for one quick second. Okay, so I don't know if this helps or not, but I just want to back up and tell you something here. When I click this, see this right here, this square up top here? When I resized it, it resized everything from the center out. If I would have had it here, it would have kept my leftmost corner the exact size and then resize it to the top right. So keep that in mind when you resize things, you know, hopefully if that helps. I'm going to knock my bird out. So I have here, I'm going to click my graphic, and I'm going to go up to Arrange, Ungroup. So I want to do these all separate because I'm going to paint, and cut out them separate. So I'm going to come up here to the where it says branch. I'm going to turn off all the outputs, but I'm going to turn off the show on the branch and turn it back on just to make sure that's exactly what it's supposed to be. So I'm going to double click. I like to come down here, reset the default, bottom here, and then I'll start over. Branch. I'm just going to change this to 85 by 85 for right now, and leave everything else the way it is. Click OK. I'm going to hide that for a second. I'm going to go to circle. Make sure that my circle is actually the circle, and it is. And then go to flowers. Make sure the flowers are on, and it is. So you can go to each one if you want every time, and then do reset. Just for this right here, I'm going to leave it as these here. So anyway, now that I have it, I'm going to bring the branch back, and I'm going to hide my flowers because I don't need to work with them right now. Do notice a little thing here. I don't know what this is, so I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to delete it. So there's my branch, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this in a couple different ways, and I'm going to try something new. I'm actually going to do 2 new things tonight, and hopefully they'll work out together. And if they give us problems, you'll see how I work through the problems, bugs in the software or whatever, however you want to do it. So one of the things I do is like this poster here. This is what I'm going to do. I got the white. I've already painted it. It's nice and dry. And what I went and purchased was this black Cricut paper. It's just a black vinyl. This one is number 631, which is non-permanent vinyl, which is what we want because we don't want it to be permanent on there. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a square that I can put over top of this. So I just put it up to it, and then I use my pencil, and then I'm just going to go right around it, and then I'm going to cut it with a pair of scissors. So let's do that real quick. Easy peasy. Cut it with a pair of scissors, nothing fancy. Voila. And then I'm going to stick it right to that, which is fun to get these apart. Just saying, but here, come back. Okay, so as you can see, I got it stuck on there. I didn't get it on there real perfect, which is okay, because I'm going to cut a circle anyway, and I'm actually not going to paint it how I normally paint it. I'm going to try something new with you guys. But there is one thing I want to mention though. Make sure that I have a little razor, but you can use whatever you want, that you actually trim those edges, or just at least 2 edges that you are going to put up against this board, because this is key. When I take this off of my machine, I'm going to want to go perfectly right back on there again. That is really important. If you notice, I didn't trim this side. There's some overlap, and it shouldn't be. If I was using that, it's not going to go exactly where it needs to be. And if you're using, you can see it's a mess. If you're using a laser and you're used to it, you're going to know what I mean when I say it needs to go specifically right back where it needs to be, because we're going to be really precise with all of this. So I'm just going to switch it over here to the, I'm going to put this on my machine table here, and you can see my side rails on my machine that I have permanently here, where I said these are going to butt, this is going to butt right up to it. And if I wanted to, I could put something sticky, clamp it, whatever. In this case, it's not going in there, and then I'm going to just put my coaster there. And then, as you can see, when I take this on and take it off, it's going to go right back where I want it every time. Very precise. So that's really, really key in doing that. Let me move this out of the way. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to laser this tree out. I want to show you one thing and why I chose to do it this way. This is going to be a great test for both of us. So if you see this here, this is what I've learned. See the fatter area here with the K, and then it gets a really detailed small up top here. When I had that vinyl on there, and I just simply burnt over the whole thing, the fatter areas burnt okay. It wasn't as consistent as I would like it, but it burnt okay. But when it went to the smaller ones, because it went so fast, it actually left some of the vinyl and some of it. I had to pick it out, and then it wasn't the same consistency of burn through it. If you go back to a second burn, of course it burns the first part deeper, so it was really inconsistent. Same thing down here with the flowers. It just wasn't like I wanted it to be. So I'm going to do something different here. I'm actually going to laser them out, pick them off, and then laser them again with the vinyl off of them. And I'm going to show you, well, you'll see why I think it's going to be a little bit better. It's going to be a little easier. And one of my little tools I just picked up. So I'm going to, first thing we're going to do is we need to line up our machine. And I'm going to show you how I line up the machine. So see this square here. This is the frame that we use. This is going to be the, why can't I select it? There we go. This is my coaster. This is going to be specifically where it needs to be. So I'm going to turn off the branch, and I'm going to turn the output on the coaster. So the reason why I like doing this is because you can come down here to frame. Frame basically just spins the, it spins the head around it, or like a circle or a square. But it doesn't really, you can't fire the laser, and it doesn't specifically tell you where your laser is going to be, like in precise detail, and I like it to be right on it. So I'm going to show you how I align my pieces of wood, whether, I don't care how big it is or how small it is, I don't care if it's round or if it's square, I make sure that I use this method every time I draw a frame around something that I'm going to burn. So let's go over to the machine. And I'm going to turn the machine on. I'm going to move everything back here, all the way up against my leftmost corner. Turn her on. And so I'm coming over to my machine, and I'm sure you remember this from maybe some other ones, but I like to do a right click on devices, and if you'll look right here, it's going to reset my machine. Just connected and then ready. So that tells me it does have a connection. So I like my start position. If you're looking at your screen here, my start position every time is down in this one corner of my frame I have. Can't start it here because there's aluminum there to burn it. So my machine is already set. I know where my coordinates are going to be. And if you look on my screen here, these are the coordinates that I start my laser every time when I start it. Let me load my notepad real quick here for you, and I'll show you why I do some of this. Make it small, put it there, and this is going to be my macro. On my macros, if you want to do one, you just right click on it, put in your G code and your name, you click OK, and that's it. There is a little bug with the macro though, by the way. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry. So the little bug in the software is, for whatever reason, it will not make the thing move unless you actually move the laser first. So I'm just going to move it up. It's just going to move it ½ inch if you saw it move. And then when I come back to the macro, if I click it, you'll see the laser now has moved to where I want it. And if you come down here to move, click Get Position, it should be exactly those coordinates that we were looking at that I wanted to go to. So I'm going to click Set Origin. That kind of sets it as my home on where it should be. And then I'm going to click Fire. If you need to know how to turn this the fire on, let me know, and I will put it in the comments. So I have it at 1%, which is all you want. You just want to click Fire, and you probably can't see, but it is dead square on the corner of my frame here. Not the coaster area yet, not my coaster template, but just this here. It's not quite flat, is it? Okay, so let's turn the fire off. And now the coaster template clip I'm going to have is, you can see here, is a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. So now I need to move my laser in a 1/2 inch each way, X and Y, so that I can get my home point right in there. I don't even know if you can see what I'm saying. It's a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. And I'm going to move it so I can get my home point right there. So I am going to come over to light burn. I'm going to set my distance to move 0.5, hit tab, and then I'm going to move up, and then I'm going to move to the right. And then I'm going to put fire to light it. I probably cannot see it. I'm not really sure if you can or not, but if you can see that, it is lit right in the dead smack corner, right where I want it. So hopefully you can see that. I've tried multiple ways with camera views, but so what I'm going to do now is click Get Position, and this is where the software thinks my machine is, and that's exactly where I want it for right now. So in my notepad here, I'm going to click X space 1.065, and then my Y is 0.625. So the nice thing is, which has happened in my last ones, if the machine crashes or something happens, I know exactly where I need to go with those coordinates. I can just go right to it. So I'm going to set origin again, and now that it's going to be my home position, and if you want to be 1000% sure, you can actually just move your laser up wherever, click Get Position, so now it's up, and go down here and go to origin, and it actually should have brought it back down to the coordinates where it was. So now we know that's right where we want it to be. So let's move in here. So now we need to move our design to the exact same spot. And that is why we wrote this down. So it's going to be really simple for us to do it. So I like to come back here, turn everything on to show, highlight all of it, and then up here, let's move this here down to the bottom left. So we're going to move this from the bottom left up. So now my X position over here is 1.065, so it's going to be simple, 1.065, and my Y is 0.625. So as you can see, where I move this, it actually is dead on my laser point, dead on. So now this square that I'm working within is dead set with my laser, and that's how I line all of my stuff up. So one more step to be 1000% sure is I turn on the frame, remember at 1% power. Let's just do 2 passes. It doesn't really matter. And it's the only one being output. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to make the laser follow this square line all the way around with only 1% power, so it's not going to burn or nothing like that. But if you watch that laser light, it should be right on the border of that. So let's make sure we have everything, and let's just give it a go. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Start from user origin. Make sure that is on user origin because we have set our origin. So let's click start, and you probably can't see, just like in the other ones, and you might be able to see that it's going to run right along the edge of the coaster. Perfectly on the edge. Okay, so I'm sorry for that interruption. Let's do that again. We're going to click start, and we're going to, you can see the line right here. It's going to follow right on the coaster. Now that's how I know that the machine is lined up exactly where I want it. Exactly. I'm just going to run again just to make sure it is perfect. So we're going to click go to origin when it's done, so it's going to be right where we want it, and then we're going to turn off the circle, and we're going to turn on the branch. So I think 85 and 85 is good. I'm going to leave it at that. And you know, like anything else, you can always run it a second time if it doesn't burn enough through, but you don't want to do too much. You don't want to go slow either. So if you can see the board, I'm going to go ahead and Let me turn the flowers off, but I'm going to go ahead and burn the tree. Should be pretty quick. Hopefully this will give you some ideas for some really neat new things. Okay, so that was done. That was pretty easy. So once again, I'm going to remove it, as you can see, the branch there. So here's what I'm going to do this time. I went and got one of these little cricket pickers, or weavers, I don't know what they are, but anyway, I'm going to pick this off. You can see it. It's pretty easy. So I'm going to pick the branch off. Very cool. So that is, just want to make sure that's the part that's going to be burned here. That's going to come off. And then now I'm going to do the exact same thing again. I'm going to put it back. So now when it burns, if you, let me get this here. Now when it burns the tree, or the branch, whatever, it's going to actually burn consistent through the whole thing. And if you didn't get all of it good, but just think of that idea you'll be able to do with that. You can invert that and actually have a branch that stick onto something. But anyway, I'll put it back. My little woodwork. And now I'm going to go and change it from line to fill end line. So you definitely should go inside of that and start from the top. So to burn it, we're going to do 85, 85, which should be fine. Probably, I'm going to change it to 75. And I like my DPI 300. Actually, no, I'm going to change that to 80. And down for the line, we want to lower that back down. We want to do 85, 85 again, just like we did the first time with just one pass. And everything else should be okay. Bi-directional fill, and then just click OK. So now it's going to just burn that entire thing, and then draw the line around it. Make sure we're on one pass. 85, 80. I'm feeling like it's not strong enough, but let's give it a try. And I'm going to change it to 85 because it's bugging me. So we're going to change that to 85, and we're going to click start. And that'll be a little bit. So we will come back. Okay, so after all my interruptions, we went ahead and burnt the branch. I'm going to move my laser. I'm going to change my distance to 2 inches and move my laser out of the way. And as you can see, burnt the wood and not the plastic, and I think it did a little bit better. You'll get much better burn out of it. So one of the things that I'm going to show you that I'm not even sure you ever see that. Sorry, burnt the wood, and as you can see, it's a little more consistent. But one thing I want to show you is over. Let me change my camera around here. One of the things, if this one here, this specific coaster, I did with my airbrush. And my airbrush paint, and as you can see, that's me outside doing something else, my airbrush. And that's how I do a lot of my painting. And it's a little bit, the flowers didn't come out quite the way I wanted to. And I went to the store to get some of that Cricut paper. And I found something cool that I wanted to try. And so I got these paint pen markers, whatever you want to call them. And they're permanent, and I'm going to give them a try. So instead of using my airbrush, I thought of a real quick, easy way to save some steps and do this. So we'll do this together. I'm going to switch over my camera to the other one here, and I'm going to do it right here so you can see it. You can see that. And basically, it's a pretty wet pen. Choose whatever you color you want. This one is a brown. It's a mocha banana, I think it's called. A walnut, sorry. So I'm just going to paint the branch in here. If you notice, you can pretty much get in there pretty good. You don't have to worry about the drying time and all that stuff. And it's actually doing a really good job. I like this actually. Saved me a big headache from cleaning up and everything too. And then, like anything else, probably let that dry for a few, do another coat maybe, and there you have it. So theoretically, I just painted that brown in minutes, and there's really not much cleanup. And the nice thing is on these pens is on one end is the thicker marker, and the other end is a little small, so that I can actually get into the grooves here. This one's really wet. So you get down there nice and pretty. Hopefully you can see that. Maybe get better camera views. So, for example purposes, boom, painted that walnut brown. So, that makes life easy. So now what we're going to do is, now that we have our brown, I want to see some spots here. Good. We're going to come back over here, and so now we have the branch. We're going to want to cut the K and the flowers out at the same time because they're going to be the same color. So I'm going to turn off the branch, and I'm going to turn the flowers back on. Oh, I'm sorry, didn't turn off the branch, turn the output. And I'm going to get my letters. Let's see, I want the letter K. So here's what I'm going to drag it in. And so what I dragged in was a PNG file. I don't have a vector or an SVG of this letter K. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to convert it to a vector. I saw a couple people ask me about how you convert an image to a vector. I think that I'm going to show you it's really, really simple. I like to move it out of my work area just so I can see specifically what I'm doing. So I'm going to drag it up here, and you can either right click on it or you can go up to Tools, Trace Image. And what that's going to do is that's going to trace all of it's going to go on the outside perimeter of what it defines, it thinks is the PNG image, and actually does a really good job. So what I like to do is pick a spot and zoom in. Zoom in as far as you can. You can kind of see where the software thinks that line is. And I usually like to have it just inside the darkest point here. And you can change this by your threshold. So if you notice, my threshold right now is 128. If I lower my threshold, if you watch this pink line, it's going to move in. Or if you move it to the right, it's going to move out all the way to the outside frame. So you can just drag it till you find a good spot that you like it. I think 128, even 130, we'll just leave it at 130, is good. So zooming back out, you see pretty much it's going to do a good trace. You click OK, and there it is. Now, one thing I found is it always throws it on the first layer. Not sure why, but it always does. So I like to make sure that it's selected, and then just choose another layer to move it to. Let's just say 15. So now it's on 15. I like to go into that and choose Reset to default. Because I don't know what it used to be. The software likes to save the settings, but I'm going to put here letter K. We're just going to say 85 and 85. Whoops. 85 and 85. And then we're going to click OK. So now we have a vector of the letter K. We can take it, we can fill it, or we can just do a line, or both. So I'm going to click that K, and I want to center it inside of here. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to click the circle, and then I'm going to, remember I clicked the circle second, go up to Arrange, Align Centers. So obviously my K is too big, so I'm going to come up here to my height, and I'm going to lower it down. Whoops, now it's lowering to the bottom left. Oh, so what I did was I forgot to deselect the circle. So now I got to undo all of that. And start over again. Like this, hit the circle, go up to, Arrange, Align Centers. Now I'm going to click away, and then come back and just click the letter K. I'm going to change this here to center because I want it to, when I resize it, I want it to resize from the center. I don't want it to move to the top right or top left. And now when I lower down the size, you'll see it stays dead center. So I'm going to grab that, and then I'm going to move it up a little bit. It's still way too big. I'm going to lower it some more. That's probably pretty close. So I'm going to click up here to zoom in. I'm going to come here, and I'm going to use my keyboard to move up one. And I think I actually want the K to be a little bit, no, actually like, maybe just a tad bigger. I'm going to say 3. That wasn't very much, was it? 2. So that looks pretty good. It's not right on the edge of the coaster. It's not right onto the branch here, but it looks pretty good. Or not right onto the flower, sorry. And so that's where I think I'm going to leave it. I actually might bring it down a tad, but I think I'm going to bring it down just a tad. Oh, wrong way, sorry. I think right there is good. So, as you can see, I brought in the letter K from a PNG. I traced it, and now it is a vector. And so now I can change it from line to fill. The reason why I did that is, I'll show you real quick. If I drag in the letter K again, you can't change this. It's an image. So you can't change it to line, and you can't change it to fill. It's just going to simply burn that just like that. And I don't want to do that because, remember, I want to cut out, delete that, back here. I want to cut this all out first and then pick it off with my little picker and then burn the K. And I can't do that if it's just an image. An image is just going to burn it. So for this example, I'm going to change it to a line so I can burn that all out and make sure that's on. And then I'm going to come to my flowers and turn that on. So now, looking at the coaster over here, we have only the branch, and then I have the flowers. So there's a couple different things. If I'm looking at this, trying to think, I think what I'm going to want to do is if I burn them out now, I'm going to have to pick them out and not get that on the brown. So I think I'm going to put another coat of the paper on there. So what I'm going to do, if I can find it, I'll show you why. And it wouldn't be so bad if I was using the airbrush, it would be worse. But what I want to do is I'm going to cut the letter K, and then I'm going to cut the flowers, and I'm going to want to paint the flowers but not get it on the brown. So what I like to do is just put another layer of black over this, so then I only burn the flowers, and then once the flowers I pick them off, I only paint the flowers. I do that with my airbrush. I'm not sure that it's really needed with this pen. Let's try it without it. Let's just do it. Let's just burn it. What can happen, right? All right, so let's click Go to Origin, and the laser should go exactly where we want. And, sorry, change that around. And go to Move, click that position, and your position should be right there again, right there, so we know exactly where we want it to be. And now we have on burning the flowers and the letter K. And one move, so let's go ahead and burn them real quick. I want to take a second, and we're done. Smells good. Put the fan in the window. Okay. So now that we've burnt that, I'm going to go ahead and move my laser up out of the way again. And as you can see, we burnt the flowers. Well, I call it a cutout, actually. This is a cutout of the material. And I'm going to use my little picker, and I'm going to pick all the flowers off, which I'm going to have to really be detailed for that, as you can see. Pick that off. And then same thing with the letter K. that. And then this here. There. Pretty cool, huh? So give me a second to get these little flowers off of here. Okay, so as you can see, I picked off the K and then I picked off the little flowers. Last time I did this with the airbrush, I'm going to cover this back up again so you can see the branch, but since we're using a little pen, it should be okay. So now we're going to go ahead and burn this. We're going to do the fill and line, and I guess technically, you know, to be honest with you, you don't even have to burn it. You can just paint it, peels off, and be done with it. But I like the texture, so we're going to put this back on here, and then we're going to come over to our machine, and we're going to change both of these to fill and line. So now we're going to go ahead and burn the flowers down and the letter K, 85, 85. Make sure everything's good. Oh, see, change your line speed back to 85 and 85. And they're cutting my grass. I just never going to win. 300 DPI. And let me just double check this one also. Yeah, I'm glad I checked it. So 85 and 85 and 300 DPI. These are the settings that I like to have. Again, just all preference. One pass on each of them. Make sure it's on one pass. And we will tell it to go. And we'll get started and I'll be back. So now we're going to start on the K. And we'll be back. Alright, so I'm back in here, and as you can see, it is finishing up. It's already burnt it all. Now it's just going to do an outline of all of it. And then it will be done. It's looking good. Okay. Let me move my laser up out of the way. I'm going to change this to 4. Alright, so as you can see, did the outline first, got rid of all the main material, then burnt it really nice in the wood here. Flowers, the same thing, but you can see now why I would have did a second layer, and then all the branch would have been hidden because it would have been much easier to paint this way. But since I have a little marker, I'm going to wing it. So let me grab my marker. This is my pink one. It's the color my granddaughter picked out. So let me choose the smaller end here, this one, and I'm going to attempt to not make a mess on these flowers because now I can. It's not going to show very well, but so basically I'm just going to color in the flowers. Pretty easy, really simple. See, the flower here would have been good to have it color over. Same thing here. And here, and here. I'm not so sure how this one's going to look, but anyway. So I'm going to change the tip on here to the larger, and then just go inside. Normally, like I told you, I would do the airbrush on this, but I just want to try and see how this would work out actually. It actually doesn't look like it's going to be too bad, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to let it dry for a few minutes, and then I'm going to do a second layer. So I'm going to bring you back when I get done that, because it's going to be a little bit. Okay, so there it is. I have used my pink pen. Color is deep magenta. So my granddaughter picked out, so I'm trying to get it without a glare on there. And I colored in the K, and I colored in some of the flowers. I gotta tell you though, if I'm gonna do it again, I would definitely do the wood, and then put another black layer over top of the wood, and then burn the flowers so that I can get a good detail on just the flowers. That's how I did my other ones. And then I just highlighted the, or painted in the K. These are actually really nice. They're, I got them at Michael's, and they were $7.99 a piece, and they're, I actually like it. With the time it's saving. So anyway, so now if you look on my screen, you'll notice that I have the circle, which is where I'm going to cut the coaster out. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn off the flowers from burning, turn the output off on the flowers and the letter K. And then I'm going to turn on the circle. So I'm going to come back into the circle and I'm going to change it to 1. To 1% power because I want to be positive where this is going to be. So one other thing is I want to tell you is I did this one here. So this one I cut out. I did it at, I think, 10 speed, 100% power. And I didn't really like how much it burnt the edges. I mean, it really crispied them. And I wasn't real happy with that. Number one. Number two, I took the black off before I burnt it. So you can't see the front so much, but you might be able to see the back. You see the edges look a little burnt, and those are wiped off. So what I was thinking was, you might still have that on the back, but on the front, I wasn't happy about that at all. So I'm going to leave this on this time. And I'm going to see the 2 different results. And that's the best way to, find your best results. The best way to do it is trial and error. Just keep going back. I did it this way. It's okay. I'm going to try it this way with it on there. If it works better, then that's going to be my method. So I'm going to put this back on the machine, and I'm going to run my circle at 1 power. I'm actually going to change it to 2, so maybe you can see it. But do the output for the circle, power 2, 1 pass, and let's send my machine back to the origin point. And then I'm going to click go. Now this is basically just going to, I'm watching the outline of that. I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm watching the outline of it, and I want to make sure that's going to go specifically within my square, which it does. So now I'm going to change my, I'm not going to do my speed 10 this time. I'm going to do it 15, and I'm going to do power 100, and I'm going to start with 4 passes. And I don't know what cut through mode is, so that looks like, I'm honestly not sure what it is, so I'm going to turn it off. So that's what I'm going to start with. That's going to do my passes, speed 15, max 100, 4, and that's going to burn through, and we will see how we do. Let's go. So obviously the first one's going to cut through the vinyl pretty good. And then I'll bring it back on towards the last one. Alright, well, that finished quicker than expected. So I'm going to move my machine back out of the way again. And let's see how we did. Look at that. First thing I like to do is check did it burn all the way through. Actually, it did not. I did 4 passes, and it didn't burn all the way through. That's exactly why I have my piece of wood here as a template, so that I can put it right back where it was. Now I'm going to go right back to the machine, and I'm going to change it to 1 pass and tell it to go again. So it's going to go through, and you can see on the machine here, see the blue underneath where it's burning through. It may actually go another time as well. The nice thing is if you don't, I didn't burn all the way through, this is my 5th time, I may actually go 1 more pass just to make sure that I get a nice clean burn through. You can always add more passes rather than take them away, you know what I mean? So if you're ever not sure, just do, I don't know, 2, 3 passes, 4 passes, and then just keep doing 1 or 2 more as needed. I'm going to run it again once this is done. I'm going to do 1 more just so I know it's nice and purdy. Okay, so let's move my laser head out of the way. And put my glasses. Sharp now. Oh wow. Still didn't even burn all the way through right here. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go one more time. Don't want to burn through on that side, does it? Again, this is a real nice thing about having the wood being able to be firmly placed every time, is you can lift your material, put it right back down and be exactly where you need it to be every time. This makes it really handy. Okay. Let's move this out of the way. Alright, let's try it again. Still not burned all the way through. You gotta be kidding me. Wow. I mean, this is burning good there. I'm not sure why it doesn't want to go through there. Interesting. Well, unfortunately, I have to do it again. Gotta get it through over there. Okay, so now I think we got it burnt through, so let's move the head out of the way. And oh, there it is. And that's our coaster. Burnt through. It's a pretty tough little spot over there. Not sure why, but anyway, there she is, burnt through. Looking good. So now all I gotta do is peel the black off. The vinyl, as you can see. See if I can get it in here for you to see. That here's better. Pick a spot. See. Hold on a second. Okay, so I got it all picked off. Let me change the camera here. And that's it. Kind of gives you the idea of the different things you can do. The letter K's. Hopefully that gave you some ideas of how to use the software, the different ways that I line it up. I can't say I'm 1000% happy with the colors. The painting was a lot easier. I would use a much more vibrant pink next time, but you get the idea. Do whatever colors you want. So that's it. The the burn. Not sure why it didn't burn over here at Pro, because it was a little bit, it's almost not a knot, but a little bit different. But it did burn a little bit better. A little touch up. I'm going to spray it with some polyurethane and make it all shiny and stand out a little bit more. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully that helps just kind of give you some ideas, some different concepts that you can do with the machine. And that's it. Have a great day. Jungle.